Alrighty, folks, I want you to know that not only I read your comments, but the great Beth Traverso reads your comments. So do me a favor, first and foremost, leave a comment below telling her how much you appreciate her being on the channel and all of her great advice. But Beth, you and I saw a comment last week, maybe the week before, about, hey, stop talking about millionaires and let's talk to first-time home buyers. I'm, of
Yeah.
course, paraphrasing. But let's talk about first-time home buyers. What are they supposed to do in a market where inventory is not there, rates are 7%? It's kind of hard, but what would be some advice?
Yeah, it's tough out there for first-time home buyers. And one thing I want to say it always has its challenges getting started in your property journey. Whether it's owner occupant or investing, it always is getting started and getting that first rental or first owner occupied home, first house hack. That's the hardest part. And it is important, like somebody pointed out that, they needed something more relatable. And I want to, like I work with first time home buyers too. We're helping first time home buyers today, and so
Yeah.
how can they jump in when things are tough, where the market is still strong and rates are high, and what do you do? So I'm in the Seattle market, so things are going to vary whatever market you're in, but a lot of the basics are going to be consistent throughout. So one of the first things I would say, for a recommendation I would give for people that are looking to buy their first home, would be to educate yourself first, spend some time learning the market, get to know what's available in your desired price point in different areas. You can do this easily by going out on the weekends and looking at open houses. You can go out there with your agent and look at properties, but there's going to be a learning curve where it takes a little time just to get your bearings, to see what's available out there and what's selling fast and what's not selling fast. And there's always some give and take as far as location versus amenities to the home, commute time, etc. Size of home versus price of home, and things like that. Take some time to educate yourself, because when you find the right house, you need to know that you found it. And the only way to know that is to have had some time immersing yourself in the market out there to realize, okay, this is the one. You might miss a couple of them in the beginning too while you're learning this, but
Yeah.
the people that are getting their offers accepted are the ones that see, okay, they immediately know this is a good one. They go out, they see it, they strike. And you have to be ready to be decisive and committed when you find the right one. Now, I'm talking about the new listings that are coming on. They're going to be the most competitive potentially. You need to be ready to be competitive. And so we'll talk in a minute about the less competitive ones and how to find those. That's a different strategy. But for the new hot listings, which is a lot of them, when inventory is low, a lot of them are going to be falling in this category where they're going to be getting a lot of attention and not a lot of market time, going to sell quickly. So you're going to need to be ready to strike. So one of the things I would start with first is work with a great mortgage lender, get fully pre-approved. Do not go to one of these online click button, get letter places, because a good agent will see right through that. And you need to be the one that's going to inspire confidence in the seller, because the seller is looking for someone who's going to close the deal. And if you are showing that you've done the work and you're committed to closing the deal, then you're a lot more likely to get your offer accepted. So that means underwritten pre-approval. Like, all they need is a title report and a property address, and they're good to go. You've submitted all your paperwork, you're vetted, you're good. It's important for you to know too, so you can make sure that the offer that you're making is going to be aligned with your budget and your goals. And the only way to know that is to get pre-approved. And then the other thing would be to do, if you have a hot list, if I don't know if where everybody is, if they do offer review dates or not, but a lot of times here we'll get an offer review date. We'll say a listing will come on Friday, offers reviewed on Tuesday. You can use that time to do your due diligence, get an inspection done ahead of time, review the title report, review the disclosures, review all those things to close those loopholes ahead of time. Because sometimes negotiation is getting your offer accepted over others, not necessarily getting concessions from the seller. Depends on the situation, but if you're competing against others, it's not about getting concessions, it's about getting your offer accepted within your comfort zone too. So I don't want anyone to get me wrong thinking that you should just do whatever it takes. It's up to you to decide where you're willing to let it go, and then let it go when it exceeds that. Don't get too emotional with your
Yeah.
bidding strategy. It's easy to get wrapped up in the excitement of it all, and sometimes it gets into an auction atmosphere, but you got to know where you're ready to let it go. there's always another great listing coming. I can't tell you how many people, including myself, have been really disappointed when a house got away. But then I remind people there's always somebody else out there preparing their house to hit the market right now that's going to be as good or better as the one that you have your heart set on. So those are a few things. And then another thing I would like to talk about a little bit would be to look for the ones that are fall through the cracks. The ones that have a little more market time, they're still out there. And those are often the best for first-time home buyers, because those ones you don't have to compete a lot of the time. Those ones you can get the concessions, you can get the inspection credits, you can get buy down on rate, closing cost credits, things like that. You can do that if you look for the ones that need a little work, that are not shined up and pretty. Maybe they're something just a little bit odd about the floor plan. I've been finding a lot lately where if something has an unconventional floor plan, those are the ones that are selling for really good prices for the buyer. And sometimes you can fix those things with a little bit of work too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I guess my advice for first-time home buyers is really the same. The thing I guess I would tell them is, you got to know your market, your buy box, and what's really going on. And in the environment we're going into, I'm very afraid it might morph into, kind of April, May of last year, where first day listings are just swarmed over. I personally hate competition. If that's the environment we're operating in, I would not play there personally. But if you want to, just know your numbers. I will add one caveat there, and this worked for me a lot in 2010, where once hedge funds came into the market, it changed.
yeah.
What I started to see is I was never the highest bidder, but I would follow up. So again, if I liked a house and I wasn't the highest bidder because I knew my number, I would put a reminder in my calendar every 2 weeks until it closed to follow up with the listing agent. Now, for owner occupants in the hot market, they're probably going to have backup offers, but you never know where back offers go. They could fall out for any reason too.
They do.
So if I liked a house and I wanted that house, I would call every 2 weeks until it closed. I don't think enough people do that.
Right.
And then lastly, kind of where you were going next, the ugly ducklings. I want to remind you folks of Meet Kevin in my second book, 15 Conversations with Real Estate Millionaires. Southern California, another hot market. He had I think he saved $9,000 from Jamba Juice of all things.
Right.
He got a 203K loan.
Yeah.
Right. There are ways you can get on the property ladder and take a ugly duckling bad floor plan and work through it.
Yeah.
It's not your first home probably won't be your forever home.
Yeah.
So realize it's a stepping stone. Wealthy own assets. This is a way to get started. So again, I would admit that it's hard today. It's always hard, but today is harder, if that makes sense. I get it. I understand that the fact that the Fed broke the housing market and there's just no inventory, it's crazy. And if Barbara Cochran's right and interest rates go down more, it might even get crazier. So I understand it takes work, but be unconventional, I guess, is my closing thoughts.
Yeah. And along that note, so a couple things I want to say. First of all, is it's always hard. It's just what kind of hard changes. It was hard a year ago because it was 40 offers on every listing. Nobody had a chance unless you were cash and just unlimited funds. Now it's hard because inventory is lower and rates are higher. It's always some kind of hard. You just have to figure out how to make it work for you. And there's always a way. And sometimes it takes some time of trying, but I've never had somebody who really wanted to buy their first home not buy it because they just never could. If they really wanted to do it, they would find eventually they would get their house. So it takes persistence sometimes. But another thing about being unconventional that I would say is, even in this market, sometimes you can find things off market and not have to compete, especially if you can find somebody who you make a personal connection with that wants to sell you their house rather than have to deal with all the crazy stuff of putting it on the market. They don't want to deal with all the cleaning and the prep and the staging and all the people coming through and all that. Sometimes if you can just connect with somebody directly, that's the best way to do it. And so I get So sometimes I'll have agents just calling me. I just had one call me yesterday saying, I have agents looking in this particular area. I know you work a lot in that area. Let me know if you get this particular type of thing coming along, you know, or just people will, or just individuals will be like, hey, do you got anything coming up? Or do you personally have anything coming up for sale? Or I'll see in the Facebook groups, or even a notice tacked up at the post office. Talk about
Yeah.
like as basic as it gets. Like, hey, we're a local so-and-so looking for a house in this area. If you know somebody looking to move, just let us know. People will reach out on that. You'd be
Yeah.
amazed.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. There's a whole industry that's today called wholesalers that are focused on off market, doing mailers and auto dialers and all of that. If I was a first time home buyer struggling today, I would add wholesalers. I would tell everybody my buy box.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be very clear. You can do a traditional mortgage with a wholesale home, right?
Yeah.
It can happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's just another way of finding deals. So again, that's what I've told a lot of people there that are like, hey, I'm struggling. There's nothing here in my market. I'm like, how many wholesalers do you know? 0.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you need to learn 20 of them because they're
Yeah.
there. Go find them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it takes a little extra looking, but it's worth it. All the reasons why you talk about it here, and like to get started on your one rental at a time journey, you got to start by just getting into your first house is that critical first step.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Getting on the property
hopefully
ladder.
there's some
Yeah.
tips here that were helpful to some folks, and I'm happy to chat with anybody if they have any specific questions.
Yep, folks. If you have any specific questions, leave them below. Clearly, I and Beth both read the comments. Again, leave her a comment telling her how thankful you are. She comes back each and every week. And more importantly, if you wanted to buy in King County, she's there for you. But if you wanted a referral across the country, she is also there for you. How do they do that?
Yeah, my website, bethtraversogroup.com, is the easiest way for me to see that if somebody wants to reach out.
Awesome. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.